The last time the Broncos beat the Chiefs was September 17th, 2015. I was a sophomore in high school. I am 23 years old now. Currently employed. Thank you very much. I am done with my school. Your boy's a full-time worker, and that streak is still going. So that should say something. Again, New England, they're in shambles right now. They don't know how to freaking score at all. It's like they forgot how to play football. It was more so Mac Jones forgot how to play football. But five total coveries from those fumbles, 100%. If we're knocking it out, we are getting possession and we are going down the field and we are putting up six. Thank you very much. What's going on, everyone? You were listening to the Antonio Chauran Sports Podcast on YouTube. I am your host, Antonio Chauran, and we're going to be going over a couple things here. First thing is my picks from week 5 and how I did there. I'm going to be giving a quick review on what I thought of the week 5 slate overall and some takeaways from that. I'm going to go over who I think is going to be winning week 6 of the NFL, and I'm going to give a quick Chiefs and Broncos preview. Yes, the Chiefs are playing tomorrow night, Thursday night football. So I alluded to this and talked about it last week, how on Fridays for Chiefs Kingdom, it is Red Fridays. But since we're going to be playing Thursday night, it's going to be Red Wednesday. So, I got my red here. We got red there, red right here, red everywhere, as you can see, in true Chiefs fashion. So, yeah, let's get started. So just to go over really quickly how I did for last week, I finished with a record of 9-5. Not bad. That's a passing grade, so we love that. But definitely a lot of these games that I got wrong, I did not see coming. I knew that Ravens and Steelers game would be close, and I said that would be physical, but I didn't think 17-10. That's for sure. But you know what? That was on me. I should have predicted a more lower scoring game. I thought the Ravens were going to pull it out, and Lamar Jackson definitely had his worst game of the season. He looked really bad. And, you're really seeing this Steelers team, how they can be on the defensive side of the ball, but it also showed the inability from their offensive side that they just can't score points. So that was pretty bad from that angle if you look at it from that perspective. So there are pros and cons to pull from both sides of those teams. But, good for the Steelers to get a win there. I did not anticipate that the Jaguars would win that game, but, everyone is saying how they had 2 weeks in London, so they had some time to acclimate. The Bills going on a Friday, playing that early Sunday morning slate. Early here, but it was like, I don't know, 2 or 3 p.m. their time. So, yeah, there's some different ways that you can look at it from that angle. I don't think that should be an excuse. Like, if you're going to win and you want to win, that should not be an excuse. And I've seen both arguments made that, the Bills had jet lag, the Jaguars had a big advantage being there for 2 weeks. But yeah, the Bills did not look good. So good for the Jaguars there. Bears and Commanders. I did not anticipate the Bears winning the way that they did against the Commanders. I held the Commanders to a higher standard, and they did not look good. And they are looking like more of one of the bottom teams in the league, unfortunately. So yeah, that happened. And then Texans and Falcons. I thought the Texans would handle this relatively easily. I did not expect the Falcons to fight the way that they did and to win in the fashion that they did. I thought the game was a wrap when CJ Stroud went all the way down to win towards the end of the game. At least I thought it was to win with that touchdown pass, obviously. But Falcons came back and scored and were able to win 21-19. And, credit to them, right? They are definitely looking like one of the better teams in the NFC South, and a division that we didn't really look very highly at to begin with. Obviously, the Bucs are still on top. They just had their bye week, so they're still 3-1. We'll see how they do this coming weekend. And lastly, the Packers and Raiders. Packers did not look good at all. It wasn't a pretty game by the Raiders either. The Packers should have won that game, and they had many opportunities to win that game. But, the final score being 17-13, that was a pretty ugly game. Not the best Monday Night Football game that you would like to see in prime time, but hey, we got it. Came and went, and yeah. So the first takeaway that I have from this week 5 slate is that there is really no definitive AFC team. And, obviously, I'm not going to be 100% biased and say, oh, the Chiefs are the number one team in the AFC, like willy nilly. You can make an argument, of course you can, but, for those first few weeks there, Miami looked like the top dog. And then the Bills came and freaking whooped them 48-20. And you were like, all right, so now it's the Bills. And then the Bills go and they lose to the Jaguars in London. And, the score was closer than what the game really was, in my opinion. So I thought the Jags handled that relatively easily and won comfortably. So who do you pick? Is it the Chiefs? Is it the Dolphins? Is it the Bills? Is it the Jaguars now since they beat the team that was arguably the best team in the AFC? I don't know. So just with the uncertainty and the back and forth with that, you can't really pick a team in the AFC right now and be like they're the best team without there being, a definitive argument to be made there. And you also think of teams like the Bengals who are 2-3 right now. Obviously, they just won this past game against the Cardinals. And, they won comfortably 34-20. But at the same time, this is a team that was a consensus going to be the worst team in the NFL. So, you have the Rams and the Cardinals under your belt, the two bottom teams in the NFC West. You didn't beat a 49er team. You didn't beat a Seahawks team. So, yeah, there's so many different ways that you can go about this because it wasn't so much the fact that Miami lost. It's the way that they lost. They didn't lose a close game. It would be one thing if they lost a close game, right? Or if they were missing guys that you could say and add maybe a little asterisk next to, like, oh yeah, well they were missing X, Y, and Z. That's why they lost. No, they didn't have Jalen Waddle, but hey, they were doing just fine without him, and they still got beat the way that they did. So, yeah, I mean, Buffalo was really trying to make a case for themselves, losing that first game in overtime against the Jets, and then going 3 straight, looking like one of the better teams, not just in the AFC, but the NFL as a whole. And then they go and turn around and lose to the Jaguars, who, had a 500 record at the time, sitting at 2-2. So, yeah, man, I mean, it's interesting. The Chiefs are tied with the best record in the AFC alongside Miami at 4-1. Everyone else is either 3-2 or lower. Tied with I believe, the second best overall record in the entire NFL. Obviously, you have the 49ers and Eagles that are both 5-0, undefeated. Then you have the Lions, Dolphins, and Chiefs all at 4-1. The Bucks are 3-1 because they had their bye week, so they're still technically, they only have one loss. But percentage-wise, 4-1, they have 800, like 0.800, and then 3-1, 0.750. So technically, we have the better record, but that's besides the point. So, yeah, you look at all of that and you're like, all right, well, you can't just look at record to necessarily figure out who was the best team because, yeah, Miami and the Chiefs have the best records in the AFC. They're tied at 4-1, but, the Chiefs, their only loss was to the Lions. And frankly, and I've said this many, 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 many times. The Chiefs did everything to lose that game, and they only lost by 1 point, and that was the first game of the season. Miami was rolling through the first 3 games. Then they get whooped by the Bills by 28 points. And then they go and turn around and beat the Giants 31-16. I mean, that was expected. I knew they would win. But again, you also have to look at the level of competition. And look, the argument can be made for the Chiefs as well. The combined record of teams that we have beat are only 7-13. That being the Vikings, the Bears, the Jets, and the Jaguars. So, I also understand that as well. So you have to take all of that into consideration. But we'll see. We'll see what happens through these next few weeks. I have said on the show before, I don't think our season really starts till right before our bye week when we play Miami. We play Miami week 9, and then we have our bye week. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how these next few weeks go. We definitely, at least for me, best case scenario, we go into our bye 8-1. We, winning 8 straight into the bye week. Worst case scenario, 7-2. We lose that game against Miami. But I feel good against Miami. Their defense sucks, right? I feel good playing against them, and obviously, their offense is no joke. And I'm not saying that they are, but our defense right now, we are only allowing 16 points a game. We're tied for the third best in the NFL in points allowed per game. So, I feel pretty good about that. And I feel good with how our team is looking as a whole. Obviously, I want to see more from our offense, and I feel like we're going to be getting better on that side as we move forward and continue through the season. So, yeah, that's really my main takeaway, though, is that there's really no bona fide and solidified. Oh, I sound like a poet. I'm a poet. I didn't even know it. Oh my god. Anyways, there's really no AFC team that you can definitively say is the top team in that conference. So that's the first thing. My other main takeaway here is that, and this will be the last one that I get to until I get into my predictions for Week 6, is that the Cowboys are officially out of my NFC Championship game and Super Bowl run in my head. Look, I know you don't want to overreact just to one game, and you don't want to overreact this early in the season, but hey, the 49ers made a statement in that game, 42-10. They got whooped. And for the longest time in that game, it was 21-7. You were waiting for, Dallas's offense to do something, but they just couldn't. Their offense was abysmal against the 49ers, and their defense was horrible as well. Going into this game, they were the top defense in the NFL in terms of points allowed, right? And so you're going into that game allowing a little bit over 10 points a game, which is crazy. And obviously that season opener against the Giants, holding them to literally 0 points, helped a lot. But again, those next 3 games, you're obviously with the Giants game as well, you're going into this 49ers game and you're only allowing just a little bit over 10 points a game, 10.25 to be specific, and then you get 42 put on you. And the main argument that people are taking away from this is, the strength of schedule. You're going up against a Giants team that's, totally awful, right? And then you turn around and play the Jets. Week 2, this was right after their high of beating the Bills after they lost Aaron Rodgers after 4 snaps in the season opener. And then you hold them to 10 points. Then you go to Arizona and you get 28 put on you, and everyone's like, whoa, like, what happened there? That was kind of weird. And then everyone's like, they just had a bad game. And then they go around and hold New England to only 3 points. But again, this is an offense that just cannot get anything going. And Mac Jones is probably out after this season anyways. And so, yeah, you have to look at the strength of schedule from that standpoint. You're like, all right, Cowboys can beat up on really bad teams. But when it comes to actual, Super Bowl contenders, they can't match. Offensively, they cannot match. Defensively, from a coaching perspective, they can't match at all. And so you see just the complete onslaught that the 49ers put on the Cowboys, and they just cannot respond. They simply cannot respond. And that was enough for me to really see that they are just not the team that's going to be making it into the Super Bowl this season. They're just not. They're not even going to make the NFC Championship. If they're looking like that, they're not. And unless they show me otherwise, and they can play a team that's supposed to be one of these more high caliber teams in the NFL and put up a good performance, you're not going to convince me otherwise. I was going to give my preview for the Chiefs game coming up tomorrow at the end after I give my predictions. But I mean, I was going to give this kind of analysis when I gave the predictions to begin with. So I might as well just break down this Chiefs and Broncos matchup before I get into my predictions. So just really quickly, the reason why the Chiefs will win, not just because I think they will win, I know they will win. I mean, they're the better team. The Chiefs are 15-0 against the Broncos in their last 15 head-to-head matchups during the NFL regular season, because we haven't met up with them in the postseason during that stretch. The last time the Broncos beat the Chiefs was September 17th, 2015. I was a sophomore in high school. I am 23 years old now. Currently employed. Thank you very much. I am done with my school. Your boy's a full-time worker. And that streak is still going. So That should say something. And Mahomes is also 11-0 in his career against the Broncos. He's never lost to the Broncos in his entire career. So, there's something to be said about that as well. Aside from all of that background context that I gave you and just the overall dominance that we've had over the Denver Broncos over a decade, right? We're going on about 8 years now. Our team is just better. We currently have a 4-1 record. Obviously, the Broncos are 1-4. They should be, let's be honest, they should not have any wins this season up to this point. They were lucky to get a win against the Bears after being down at one point 28-7 in the third quarter. So, hey, kudos to them for coming back and winning that game. But still, they easily can be 0-5. Just to give you a quick rundown of your basic Broncos stats from the 2023 NFL season through 5 games. Total points allowed per game, 36.2. That is an NFL worst. Points scored, 24.2 points a game. That's not bad, and I want to say this too. A lot of people are really giving Russell Wilson a lot of crap. He's not the reason they're losing games. He's not. Obviously, there have been a few turnovers here and there that were not very timely. Obviously, you saw in that Jets game, Russell Wilson fumbled the ball and it was like rolling out of bounds, and it was a scoop and score from the Jets defense to put him up 31-21. So at that point, the game was really over. But aside from that, I'm trying to make a case and it doesn't sound like I'm really helping him. But he's been putting up numbers. He has 11 touchdown passes as well through 5 games. The offense is performing. It's the defense that just has been horrible. And obviously, look, a lot of these stats that I'll give you will be a little bit skewed because of that 70-20 loss against Miami. But hey, at the end of the day, that was a recorded NFL game. That's going to go down in these statistics. So regardless if it skews the stats or not, it still happens. So it is what it is. I had mentioned total passing touchdowns, 11 tied for third most in the NFL. Total rushing, 521, which is middle of the pack. Through 5 games, just a little bit over 100 yards per game. Total yards allowed in rushing. This is bad. 938, which is a little bit over 187 yards per game allowed in rushing, just in rushing, which is an NFL worst. Total passing yards allowed, 1,315, which is 263 per game. Yards per game, like through the air, passing yards, which is second worst in the NFL. So you're seeing all of these near worse or worse in the NFL rankings with all of these different statistics. And that just shows right there why they're losing games, is because their defense is just playing horrible. A defense that we thought was going to be a top 5, top 10 defense, right? Like they've played horrible up to this point. So if you really want to get down to the nitty gritty of why they're losing games, that's why, right there. Now, let's go to the Chiefs side, all right? Total points allowed per game, 16. We have allowed 80 points through 5 games, 16 per game, which I had mentioned earlier is tied for third best in the NFL. Obviously, the top one are the 49ers, allowing 13.6 points per game. Then we have the Ravens and Browns, who are tied for second for allowing 15 points per game. And then the Chiefs and Bills are tied for third at 16 points allowed per game. Total points scored, 25.6. Again, everyone is saying that this is an offense that isn't performing, that isn't putting up points. We're putting up almost 26 points a game. That should be enough to win any football game that we play, especially with the way that this defense has been playing so far. If you just look at the point differential itself, that's about 10 points. So in theory, if we're sticking with the statistics here and the overall average per game, we should be winning by 10 points each game. Shit, I'll take that. Total passing touchdowns at 10, which is 4th in the NFL. Total rushing yards, 615, which is just outside the top 10. We are at number 11. So, hey, not bad at all. I will take that. Total rushes allowed at 486, which is just a little bit under 100 yards per game. We definitely want to get better at that, but we're 12th best in the NFL with that. Total passing yards allowed, just a little bit over 1,000 at 1,021, which is just a little bit over 200 yards per game. And that is 14th best. So, we're middle of the pack with yards allowed through the air, passing yards. But this is the statistic that really jumps out at me here. We have forced a total of 5 fumbles this season, which is, one per game, if you think about it, which is tied for sixth in the NFL. But those 5 forced fumbles were all recovered. 5 forced fumbles, 5 recoveries, which is tied for second in the NFL. The number of recoveries, not the amount of fumbles that were forced. That is tied for sixth. But 5 total recoveries from those fumbles, 100%. If we're knocking it out, we are getting possession and we are going down the field and we are putting up 6. Thank you very much. That is tied for second in the NFL of a total of 5 recoveries. There you go. All right. There we go. I definitely know we only have 1 interception on the year, so a total of 6 total turnovers, which is good. But again, we're getting to the ball. We're being physical. This in and of itself, you know what this shows me with the forced fumbles is that we're being physical. That we are going up to guys and we are hitting the ball out of their hands. We're getting that damn ball back and we are getting it to Mahomes, and you know he's going to make something happen. That's what that tells me. That tells me that we are a physical football team, and I love that. That's what you want. And again, I have said this before. We have guys like Justin Reed, who I love that guy because he knows how to hit. He's a great player. He's a great leader. But man, that boy knows how to hit. We have Nick Bolton. We have Willie Gay. We have Drew Tranquil. Leo Chanel. We have guys that will hit you. Trent McDuffie has been having a hell of a season so far. He knows how to hit too. And then obviously up front, we got the front line with Chris Jones leading the front. Man, let's go, bruh. Let's go. This is why I feel so good about tomorrow night. This is why I feel like we were going to win this game handily. I said we were going to win 34-17, I believe was the score I put up. We'll see in the graphic here in a few how many points I gave us. But, man, let's go, bro. Let's go. We are winning this game by at least 2 touchdowns. Let's go. And we are going to continue that streak of 15-0. We're going to make that 16-0. Let's get it. Mahomes is going to be 12-0 in his career against the Broncos. Thank you very much. All right. So here are my NFL predictions for week 6 of the NFL. Obviously, I just told you all, Broncos at Chiefs. They are losing because the Broncos suck. And yeah, that's all I got to say. Obviously, I gave you my entire rundown and the stats of why I think we are going to be winning this game. So there you go. Chiefs are winning 34-17. Ravens at Titans. I think the Ravens are going to have a bounce back game. The Titans do not have the defense that the Steelers do. And I think that this is just going to be a game that the Ravens can use to get back on track. Again, I've never thought highly of the Titans, especially for this season. And I don't think that they are going to be able to do much against this Ravens defense that, again, till the end of that game, held the Steelers to only 10 points. So, yeah, I think the Ravens will win this one comfortably. I'm picking them 26-17. Commanders at Falcons. Look, this can be a toss-up if I'm being 100% honest. Seeing how the Commanders played against the Bears was really concerning, especially if you're a Commanders fan, which, I'm not. But I like the Commanders, right? I'll root for them. They're the local team for me, even though I'm a Chiefs fan. But yeah, I want them to win this game. I hope they win this game. I feel like they'll be able to score on this Falcons defense. And I feel like, Eric Bieniemy is getting in everyone's ear like, what the hell happened, right? And so we got to see what happens there. But hey, I can't fault the Falcons here. They looked really good against the Texans. They really showed a lot of poise and late game execution. And they were able to pull out that win. So this can be a toss-up, but for now, and I'll stick with this, obviously, as the Commanders are going to win this one in a close game, 24-21. Seahawks at Bengals. I think the Seahawks are going to pull this one out. They're coming off a bye, and they're looking really good. I like how their team has looked up to this point. I believe they're currently sitting at 3-1. And the Bengals, again, they beat the Rams and they beat the Cardinals. They are not going to make it 3 straight in the NFC West. I think the Seahawks will win this one in a relatively close game. Again, look, the Bengals with the Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow connection, that has definitely gotten better throughout the season as we've progressed through it. But I think the Seahawks defense is going to overwhelm the Bengals a little bit too much, and they're going to win this game 27-23. Colts at Jaguars. I would pick the Jaguars here because Anthony Richardson is going to be out. He's on IR and will be out at least for the next 4 weeks. But hey, man, Gardner Minshew has looked good. And obviously he's the backup here, but he has been able to wield this team to some wins over this season so far. I like how he's looking. in this offense. Jonathan Taylor just got extended, and so he's going to be a Colt for the next few seasons. That is solidified, so you have an answer there. Zach Moss has looked really good in that backfield too, so you got that 1-2 punch with Moss and Taylor. Gardner Minshew leading the helm. Hey man, this Colts team, watch out. You don't know what can happen here, so I'm going to pick the Colts here. 28-24 in a close game, a good AFC South matchup. Panthers at Dolphins. This was a no-brainer. Maybe I think I may be a little generous giving the Panthers 21 points here. But at the same time, the Dolphins defense isn't great, so that could definitely be the case, but the Dolphins will win easily here. 33-21. They're not going to struggle. Vikings at Bears. I think this is the game that is really going to make or break the Viking season. Justin Jefferson is going to be out for the next 4 weeks at least due to being placed on IR. That's tough, if you're a Vikings fan, because he was really the only bright spot on this team, and now he's out. So I think this will be a closer game because of that, and I think the Bears can definitely make it a fight, but overall the Vikings, in my opinion, are the better team. So I think they'll pull this one out, and I feel like they frankly just need it more. So I'm picking the Vikings here 30-27. 49ers at Browns. I think this is going to be a closer game than people think. The Browns defense has played really well this season, only allowing through 4 games, 15 points a game, like I had mentioned earlier when I was going over the top defenses in the NFL up to this point. They look really good. And the 49ers defense is obviously the top in the NFL, only allowing 13.6 points per game. I think this is going to be a game. Again, the Browns are coming off of a bye. This is going to be kind of a muddied up game, in my opinion. Deshaun Watson will be back. I think this is going to be a game where, hey, the 49ers have been the top team so far. They haven't struggled really against any teams up to this point. And I think the Browns are really going to be their first test from a defensive standpoint. So with that being said, I'm going to pick the 49ers, obviously 24-20. But I think it'll be a good competitive game. Saints at Texans. I want to pick the Texans here, 26-23. Look, the Saints blew out the Patriots, completely shut them out in New England, 34-0. Again, New England, they're in shambles right now. They don't know how to freaking score at all. It's like they forgot how to play football. It was more so Mac Jones forgot how to play football. And the Texans in a tough loss against the Falcons. I think they're going to turn around and they're going to want to they're going to want to get back in the win column. I think they're going to pull this one out here, picking the Texans, like I said, 26-23, get back there at a 500 record. Patriots at Raiders. The only reason I'm giving the Patriots some points here is for the simple fact that the Raiders defense, I don't think is very good. The only reason, in my opinion, that the Packers weren't able to score on this team is just because their offense was very lackadaisical. All right, that's a SAT word right there. But yeah, the Raiders, again, I don't think that they're good at all. The Packers, they have an identity crisis from an offensive standpoint. Aaron Jones wasn't in that game either, so you also have to look at it from that perspective as well. But yeah, man, I think this is going to be an ugly game. But hey, Mike McDaniels against his former boss and Bill Belichick. It'll be an interesting game. It'll be an ugly game, one that I don't recommend really anybody watching. But yeah, I'll pick the Raiders here, 20-17. Lions at Bucks. I think both of these teams are having a surprisingly good season. I think more so the Bucks is surprising compared to the Lions. The Lions got hot the last half of the season, and I've come out of the gates running at 4-1. They look great. I don't know if Amon-Ra is going to be in this game. I know he was out last game, so he's questionable for this game. I don't know 100% if he will be playing yet. But even if he's not, I'm still going to give the Lions the lead here to win this game 28-24. Baker Mayfield has looked great in this Bucs offense up to this point. He's definitely had a little resurgence after being canned from the Browns and jumping to the Panthers, to the Rams, and now he's with the Bucs. And the Bucs are also 3-1. They're looking pretty good as well. And so, with all of that being taken into account, I think this will be a good game. But I'm going to give the extra edge to the Lions here. They're winning 20-24. Cardinals at Rams. I'm going to pick the Rams here just because I respect their defense a lot more. I respect the overall team more than I do the Cardinals. But hey, I feel like the Cardinals are starting to get something going on the offensive side of the ball, and they're starting to get things going. I really do. Obviously, in that 34-20 loss to the Bengals, they had some bright spots, but Bengals were the better team. And I think with the Rams here, they've had a lot of bright spots as well in terms of a lot of new guys coming on and making plays, like Puka Nakua, I believe is his name, who has been a rookie sensation. Yeah. So and like, this is a team that is rebuilding, right? They have definitely come off that high horse after winning the Super Bowl, but it's still a respectable team in and of itself, especially from a defensive standpoint. If you got Aaron Donald back there, you're always going to be in a game from a defensive standpoint, even though one man can only do so much. That should say a lot. So, yeah, I'm going to pick the Rams here. Nevertheless, 28-21. Eagles at Jets. I respect the Jets defense, so that is why I'm making this game closer. And the Eagles in the red zone have not been able to produce at all, which is really the only red flag that you can pull away from this Eagles team so far this season. Other than that, they look great. Their defense has looked great. The Jets are coming off of a win against the Broncos. Again, it's the Broncos, so you take it with a grain of salt. But I'm going to pick the Eagles here, 27-20. Jets at Bills. This isn't going to be close. Josh Allen's going to go crazy on this defense, which sucks for me because I'm going up against him in fantasy this weekend. So, pray for me and pray for Giants fans. But yeah, I think they're going to win pretty easily here, 35-23. I think the Giants will be able to put up some points here just for the simple fact that there have been a lot of injuries on that Bills defensive front. And obviously with the loss with Matt Milano. And obviously with the loss of Matt Milano being out for the rest of the season, that really sucks. And they're definitely going to feel that. But yeah, I still think obviously the Bills are the better team, and I think they'll be okay. But yeah, picking them here 35-23. Cowboys at Chargers. I want to pick the Chargers here. They're coming off of a bye. They're going to be well rested. The Cowboys are coming off of that completely embarrassing loss that the 49ers gave them, losing 42-10. I feel like they're going to try to bounce back, but man, that was tough. It really was. And I think with Kellen Moore playing against his former team, he's definitely going to try to dial some stuff up against this Dallas defense. I still think it'll be a close game. I really do. But I'm going to give the edge to the Chargers here, and I think they're going to win 24-23. All right, guys. So that is it for today. I'm going to be back for an episode on Friday because I want to give my reactions to the Chiefs and Broncos game. Hopefully, I will be gloating. I honestly do not feel like there will be any other option besides that. And if for some crazy reason we lose this football game, I don't even know if I'll make a video. We'll see, because I may break all of my equipment and I won't even be able to physically record. But I don't anticipate that being the case. I feel good about my team going into tomorrow and keeping that streak alive, that win streak alive for the organization, for Mahomes, and just for flat out bragging rights from Chiefs fans to Broncos fans. But yeah, thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon. Peace.